Okay, this is a video. It responds to to my friend Toma. He came all the way to Amsterdam from Japan for a class of mine, and he had a question. We're going to end up with a circular reference. It's a little loud here, I'm sorry, but we have a circular reference, and what we're going to do is make a little model, and then in our other model, we're going to put some goal seeks, and then we're going to make a data table. And here's going to be the problem. We're going to have a DSRA account. Okay, it's going to be a very, very simple. Oops, people are a little loud here. And it's I'm in America. We're going to make a model with DSRA. Okay. And when we do, here's what I believe. I believe, why don't I do this? When we use a pro rata funding, and what I just did is make it a switch. So if this is our only input. When we make a pro rata when we make pro rata funding, we're going to get a circular reference. The other way around, when we use equity first funding, we're going to shift down control. We're going to get a circular reference. Now, when we have a circular reference, this time I'm going to do what I moan about and complain about and yell about all the time. We'll go to our developer tab, and we'll make a disgusting little thing that we'll incorrectly name optimized model or some crap like that. Some disgusting kind of crap. It shows we're so smart we can make a copy and paste. Okay, we'll be so smart we can make a copy and paste. We can copy and paste specialized values and stick it in a macro. Okay. Now when we do that, the problem is, of course, that ruins the goal seeks and ruins the data tables. So we're going to show you how you can create separate macros to make a goal seek and a data table to fix that. And here's the general thing that we'll do. We'll make a goal seek, and perhaps we'll want to, on a data table rather, maybe we want to just change this from 1,600 to 1,700 to 1,500 and just figure out what the IRR is. And I said, I hoped I just said data table. I might have said goal seek. And then when we make a goal seek, we'll maybe want to put some kind of debt to capital percent and back into this with a debt to capital percent. Okay? So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have to make a little model to get this. I'm going to do this in a couple of parts. I'm going to call it DSRA Circular Funding. That's the first one, just to demonstrate when we should have a circular reference for DSRA, and you can get around it in almost until you get to one little thing. You can, or two little things you can get around it. So I'm going to start Alt-EIS, enter, nope, Alt-EIS, and let's go to 300. So we'll just do a simple little monthly thing, and then we have I didn't even put in our dates, excuse me. So let's make this 112016, and let's make this 35 e-dates. Okay, and the life is 20. So our decommissioning is e-date, this times 12, and now we have what's on our tombstone. the end of our life. That's it. All it will say. We'll have a picture. We'll go to some horrible little funeral service, and they'll have a picture of our wedding, and we'll make a tombstone that says when we were born and when we died. I don't mean to get depressing. Sorry about that. So on the period, then we'll put construction. Switch. Now, people who think they've done a big deal by just doing a construction switch, I hope you don't. That's kind of the first. So now, what I did just now is I opened. I didn't mean to, but I opened in. Well, I suppose we can go to this one. And, you know, the main files I have here are the generic macros file, which I think I have to update just a little bit. And you just open that file, or if you want to go to the, I'm not on the internet now, so you can go to this macros thing and see how every one of these macros work. Okay, there's some more people coming in. We'll probably sit there talking about politics. Okay, and then we'll put the start date and we start with the end, kind of. So we start with the financial close -1. Don't forget to put the -1 there. Put 1. This time I'll put EO month tab. And of course, I didn't do what I wanted to do up here, which is to put the months per period. And we can put over here the time and the months. So that's for the construction period. Let's say it's 1 month per period and 6 months per period. And oh shoot! I should have added a couple more things here. Oh, it won't be all that bad. We'll put a 1 month here for when it's true, or 6 months for when it's not true. And we'll put, if it's the construction period, then we'll use 1 month per period, otherwise we use 6 months. And we keep trying, I keep trying to get them all simpler and simpler. EO month. See how simple we can get this, you know, okay, Shift Control R, okay, we've set up the dates. It's not a big deal. Shift Control C is going to put all of our colors in. Now, you know, oops, I have the add-ins from the other one. To get the add-ins from the generic macros, we have to run this. Now the add-ins will allow us to do this key one, which is color the cells from a different tab color in a different sheet. Okay, so we have the basics done, and I you know, why don't we put the construction year? Yeah, because of the way I set up the thing, and what we do is we say round up this period divided by 12, comma 0. Okay, we can put a little if statement if it's the construction period. Whoops, that was, how did I do that? Oh, sorry about that. And if it's the construction period. Okay, so hopefully, and it didn't, goddamn it, what did I do here? Okay, sorry about that. Apparently I have it on manual. Now if you want to change the format, please don't start changing it one by one. Please just press Shift Control R, Control Spacebar, and then do it for the whole thing. Is that okay? Okay. Now, let's just make our model, and we'll put our construction. And the first thing we can make is now, we'll make the WFF, these shortcuts from the, let's put the S curve in. You just press, you know, Alt. Absolute told me all this. Alt, and then you can start to do anything with the shortcut key. But we're going to, depending on the construction year, we're going to put our S curve. So just put equal lookup, okay, and you know, the lookup first on the construction, right? And that took me a second. Click this one, and then put a comma and click this one. I think you should do this. It's I suppose, a philosophical idea, and we can divide that. We can divide that by 12 times the construction, the months per period. If you want to get it real fast, the Shift Control P. That should have been a lot lower, shouldn't it? Okay. You know, this is just because of my I've got to fix the generic macro. This won't happen for you if you download the latest generic macro. I left it to. And if you want to get rid of the NAs, put if and true. Okay. So the first thing to do is, I hope I didn't see that. Oh, come on. Shift Control R. Ah, shit. I see that. God damn it. Shift Control R. Okay. Alright. I was silly what I just did, but okay, so now we have the S curve, and we'll have the construction. And the construction, we'll just put our total cost here outside in the row, and just multiply that by that. Okay? And we should test that, but let's test it by hand. Just a minute. Okay. I'm going to pause it for a second because we had the construction curve going out, and it's loud, and I got to get a coffee. Okay, let's do a couple of conditional formatting. Just select the whole sheet, and when you go to conditional format, go to a new rule, go to, I use a formula because you're fancy, and on the first one you can say, let's just set the date, the start date. Always go to the very first date, F4 only on the row, and compare that to the COD. Go to format and make it some kind of a format. Now when you do that, it should go and show the format. Now let's do the same thing for the construction period. You just go to home, go to conditional formatting, and go to new rules. I'm going slowly now all of a sudden, and this time do the same thing. Make sure you start with A. Absolutely sure you just press that, and just, you don't have to then put anything because that's true. And let's just make that a different color. So let's just press that. Okay, so we've set up our model, and now let's see what happens. Okay. When we put, and that, okay, why don't we put the operation here just for and we'll just put the period, operation period, I suppose. how about it's not, we'll put not, right? We put 120, that's an annual period, okay? And let's divide that by 12. Okay, that's our monthly period, and then we can put not the construction period. We can't really do that times this one. Okay, shift control R. The reason we can't do that is because we have to stop it at some point. But okay, I'm going to leave it for just a minute because the focus on this is really the following. Here are the following key points. I should have mentioned this right at the outset. We need to start with a summary, sources, and uses. And in that summary, sources and uses, we'll put the uses first. And then let's put construction. But then below construction, we'll put IDC, and then most importantly, our DSRA account and total. Now this is going to be for the total period, and then for uses, sources, sorry. And then we can put our debt, which we just clicked on up here, and equity, which will be the total. Let's make the total, just make a sum of all of the construction, okay, shift control 1 perhaps, shift control 1, and then alt equal, okay, whoops, well that didn't really work, oops, shit. That was stupid, so just alt equal now, and the IDC and the DSRA will come from below, which looks like we're going to get circular references. Whenever you have to go down instead of up, you've got the fear of circular references, total, alt equal. And we want to see if we can get rid of all of these circular references without anything at all. And after we put the sources and uses, let's put the funding. And for the funding, let's just copy the titles. Okay, okay, and we don't want the sums yet. Okay, but the construction will just take from what we've already done. Now the IDC and the DSRA, they come from down below. And after we do the funding, let's put the I suppose we'll do the equity funding first. No, that's stupid. We'll do the debt funding, because that's normally what we do. So then okay, if we can put funding and then sources if we really care. And then we can put debt funding. Now if we have
he drives, so he picks me up. I'm chauffeur both ways.
The debt funding, if we have the pro rata set, I'm sorry, there's some loud people. If we okay, we change this so we have a debt funding with pro rata. How about if we just put sum of this divided by the entire line? Okay, that's going to be not, maybe you'd say, oh, that pro rata should consider everything, so what we can shift control 1. Oh, shit. I said shift control 1 and not shift control R, and I have to go and change this. Excuse me for this. I'm going to do it during the macro, just in case you have this. I have to figure this out. This is this shift control R, which I don't understand if you don't, why you don't download this, but nobody seems to care about it. I can't understand why Excel doesn't have a shortcut like this. Okay, and debt funding, how about percent? Okay, and then we put our debt funding, which is just going to be our total debt, which we'll take all of those now from that sheet. F4 times the funding percent shift control 1 shift control R, and then we can put our equity funding. Okay, and our equity funding will be the total. Now what we can press is Alt equal. I wanted to do it all in one go. So the equity funding will be the total minus the debt. And just a minute. Why did I? Just a minute. That should be less than 1, of course. Okay, I forgot to fix the S-curve. I was going to tell you. This should be unadjusted. Unadjusted S-curve. And this, why don't we put, if we get to 100% by we'll put period before COD. So this is just going to be our COD date, E date, the COD date, -1, and then we're going to accumulate. Let's put accumulated as for, okay, I don't know. Maybe that's a thing to kind of start to get used to doing. Now what happens is it just gets up to 100%. So at the period before the COD, let's just make a switch for this. Okay, we'll need this later anyway. And then we can put the ending construction. So we better just put all of our construction and plop it into this one date. So we can put the 1 minus the accumulated construction, and then we'll just multiply that by the COD date. Okay. And what happens then, hopefully, is if we go to our little thing, we put all the rest of it in. So in the adjusted S-curve, okay, and that was just wasting a little bit of your time, excuse me, but it's the unadjusted curve plus this one, and then this construction should be the adjusted S-curve. Okay. Now we okay. Excuse me. This should we're gonna put the. Excuse me. We need to. I'm gonna just cheat. I should do this. I really should. But whatever. Uh-oh, somebody's not getting their food. Okay. Okay, and then we have to fix our operations, but we have our construction, and now the debt. We have the debt funding and equity funding by period. Now here's the big trick. Here's the big trick. When you finish the debt funding and you put the debt schedule, and you put construction, and you have, even if you're not really going to ever dream of refinancing it, put the opening balance, yes, add the draws, and then less the refinance debt at COD -1. And closing balance. Now, if you do this, you'll see that we can get rid of the circular reference due to and then we'll put the interest and IDC. Okay, and then we'll put the permanent debt. And here's a big trick: opening balance, add the draws at COD minus 1. And the big trick, and you don't believe me, I'm sure all you people, you fancy people, don't believe that this is true, but what you do is you put the debt right here from our little summary sources and uses of funds statement up there. And that will eliminate that will eliminate so much of the we'll put the tenor there. That will eliminate so much of the circular reference. Now, I believe when we do it like this, we'll have no circular reference for the DSRA. However, when we switch it from pro rata to equity first, we will have a circular reference, and that's what will lead us to the rest of all of this stuff. So we'll put interest, expense, and then debt service, and then once we have the debt service account, we can put the DSRA. We'll put the debt service, required debt service, and then we can put the funding during remaining funding requirement. And we can put funding during construction, and we can put funding during operation, and then finally we'll put the opening balance, add the funding, and why don't we just add those two together unless closing balance. Okay, so we're going to go through this and demonstrate that the key point here, and I think it's worth going through. The key point is that there's no, and we'll get the debt draws, there's no, this is the sum of this multiplied by that last thing we just did, this COD minus 1, this one, okay, and then the closing balance is the opening balance plus the draws minus the, what we take out, our interest. Well, let's put our interest rate here, annual interest rates. I didn't have to press F4, of course, on that. And we divide it by 12, multiply it by the months per period. Shift Control P. Our IDC is the interest times the opening balance. The permanent debt is the opening balance equals the closing balance. The draws at COD, that's the key. That's a different one. I hope you see that that's a different one. I'm repeating myself over and over and over and over again. But that didn't come from the above, and that's how you avoid the circular reference. And then we'll put equal PMT, PPMT. Okay. Or how about let's just do a simple, stupid little level payment. Okay. But we better multiply this by the not construction, and we better also make this the minimum of the, we don't want to ever pay off more than the opening balance, okay? Okay, and then the closing balance is the opening plus the draws minus the repayments, and interest expenses are interest rate. Let's keep this interest rate separate. So our interest expense is the interest rate multiplied by the opening balance, and our debt service is our repayments plus our interest. Okay, and that's all very straightforward, I hope, and except for the big deal that you saw that the interest during construction came from a different place, shift control R, we shouldn't have any problems anymore with that one. And now we can put in our debt service, that's our required debt service, and then the required debt service is just the 6 months divided by 12, 2 times 6. This is kind of bullshit, but whatever. I did it wrong. Okay. This is just one period. It's just simply this is 6. Stupid. Okay. Okay? Is that okay? And then we put offset. I've done this somewhere else, so I'm not going to do it. But we put, if we get really fancy, you put sum, and you put offset, and you go up to the reference. You keep it on the same row. You go one column over. You make it one high, and you do it for one thing. So if you press this, you get a, when we go out to a famous beginning, we have it one earlier. And when you go out to the end, it would be one later. So our funding requirement is just the how much required debt service we have minus the opening balance. That's the big trick there. And then required funding during operation is just this times this. And this is just this times not the construction. Okay. Okay, and then we have our opening balance equals our closing balance. And our funding is just the funding during operation plus the funding during construction. And that could be negative or positive. And then we've got up all of this. Okay? So I tried to go fairly quickly. And we have our opening balance going up, and it eventually goes down. And why didn't, just a minute, the repayments, did I put the repayments in here? Interest expense seems to be wrong. Okay, because I didn't press the 4 button. Okay, and now there are people coming here. Shit. Okay, and then that service going down, and eventually the account goes down to 0, and now here's the danger for the circular reference. When we put the DSRA funding, we go, let's put the IDC funding first. We go down to get the IDC funding. Okay, Shift Control R. Let's go down and get the DSRA funding during construction. Okay, so far no circular reference, but that's not really okay. And then we put some of the IDC line, and we put some of the DSRA line. And we press Shift Control 1, and there's no circular reference from the DSRA funding. Okay, and I'm going to end the video now because I'm going to call this DSRA 1. That demonstrates this key point that we don't even need a stupid little copy-paste macro if we set up the model like this. Now, if this, by the way, if this model, if you had instead this draws at COD, if you had put this the sum of all of the draws here, okay, Oops. I thought that I would have a circular reference. Just a minute.